There you are. Hi, Leo. How's everything in Brooklyn?
Oh boy, I have not left Brooklyn since early March. What is that? 8 months? I don't know if I
Yeah.
count correctly. It's been a little while, and like
Right.
even though I'm sort of cut, it's sort of like to endure just this ongoing time in the studio. 8 months of not leaving the actual neighborhood is something else. But the work is actually definitely flourishing in this kind of environment. Because it's just I'm made for this. You know,
Yeah.
seclusion, work, no interruption. Well, the Zooms are interruptions, of course. I've been getting those nonstop Zoom. It's like so it's like we gotta figure out how all this should play into the future. But I can see that it's going to be something it's a tool that's going to be constantly used.
So you've had great quality studio time. It's
Sure,
been,
of course. This has been great.
what are you
Mhm.
excited about? What's going on in the studio? What are you excited about?
Well, the fact that the uninterrupted time is one thing. Your mindset, this ongoing stream of thought. I haven't had that. My God, in at least a lot of years, many years now. It's like where you don't have to be necessarily responsible. You're not on a clock. This. You don't recognize that until something like this happens. And who could have ever guessed that this could have occurred? Where everything got shut down and anything that you were responsible for all of a sudden evaporated. And all you had was just your wits and your idea of who you are. I mean, this definitely causes people to sort of focus, you know,
De-
uh, and figure out what's important. I mean, I
Definitely.
already came in with that already, strapped to me, but it was just intensified all of a sudden. I mean, it took 3 days for me to figure out that for me, this was actually a great thing, to be able to sort of like to have this unbroken time. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you seen any kind of shift or change in the work over the past 8 months? Or
Yeah, my actually when my assistants were working from home, so
Mhm.
Clement and the other two, were I was feeding them work remotely. And as soon as I realized that we were going to go do a lockdown, it was like, I had to immediately, go into, uh, uh, you know, uh, engineering like bodies of work that could be, serious bodies of work that could be done not in the studio, but they were working on parts, and I was working on this sort of like, these things that then the sum of the parts had to come together to create these new works once we got together. But when they came back, I mean, they knew right away that, oh, something has shifted, and in terms of the work. And it's just the intensity level, the fact that I was already venturing into color is becoming a thing. Is now it is alive and in effect. It is no longer sort of like an aside or an experiment. It is an absolute. So all
Yeah.
those things that were like, where you didn't have time to sort of like to settle issues with when you are sort of like responsible for all these different things and juggling all these things. Now it's all about, you bought I bought it all in now, Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So you're fully embracing the color.
Absolutely. I mean, 4 years of China working with porcelain and glazing, and I mean that whole adventure shifted the piece that was for Madison Park was definitely not what I ended up showing. It was deeply affected by my sojourn in China, and all the things that I accumulated there and all the energy and all the history of that place is just like well, I mean, being one of the cradles of civilization, you put yourself there and and you just become like a receiver of information. You're an antenna. You become, and so that came back with me. And so like the work is the color of the literally the explosion of color has its beginnings right there. You know. Mhm.
Yeah. Do you miss travel? I mean, I know there's been great quality time in the studio, but do you think about when you are going to travel? I know you just went to Machu Picchu, or
Egypt was on the list, and
and
that was actually we had to cancel that trip. And like I kind of felt that it was time for me to seek more aggressively, out these places that vibrate. I mean, obviously China, Egypt, Africa. I mean, you need to sort of like delve in if you are, looking for material. And if you allow your body to become, like I said, like an antenna, become like like a receiver of information, you just have to plant yourself in those places. So when I went to Machu Picchu, obviously what I came back with shows up in the work. When I did Glory Island in Dakar, those dungeons, that whole experience showed up in number 43. So it's not like I have to say this is what the work's going to be about. That is never has been absolutely necessary in terms of how I do things. You just have to sort of like take in information and then allow it to sort of go through your body and work its way back out, and in the most natural way, without having to force issues. I'm not, an artist that speaks, bluntly about, political issues, but those things are absolutely in my work because I'm alive, and that information is out there. So it's just not necessary to to clobber you with it, but it's the weight, the emotional and spiritual weight of all these different experiences will become the work and have become the work.
well, I think it's the way you physically and kind of psychologically tackle the work. I mean, it's layered. There's a
Mm.
depth to everything you do and a layering of what you do. And I think it's just, you just touched upon it just now. It's who you are. And that comes across those experiences, those travels, those things. So many of the things that I think the work comes from are universal, and the viewer picks up on it. It doesn't have to be, like you said, this overt, I'm going to spell it out for you.
Mm.
It's like you bring your own experiences to it, but there is this depth, there's this feeling in the works that they have, although they're abstract, that they've had another life. Like you've created them and they're fresh and new, but they also have this feeling of the past to them. Don't you think?
Absolutely, that's in there. I mean, there's, I'm standing on the shoulders of a history that is cumulative. It's about all of us. So realizing that that the works should become like a mirror, for all who stand in front of it. It gives me the opportunity to also learn from your experiences when you're standing in front of the work. I mean, if I gave these works titles, immediately you would have a hint on what you should be thinking about. And the fact that I number them actually gives you a lot of room to sort of maneuver, find yourself, reflect on what's happening in front of you, and then lead with that, And I have many experiences where if I've had conversations with people who didn't know I was the artist, but were going on and on about what they were staying in front of, and what their experiences, how this work sort of activated something in them. Why would I want to get in the way of that? And in the end, I end up gaining and learning so much more, rather than sort of being dogmatic and saying this is what the work should be about. Allow it to sort of have its freedom and work its way through everybody's body.
I think that's so unusual now, in a way, with work. And I think that it's a fantastic kind of freedom that you give the viewer, because I even see that as I interact with people seeing your work for the first time, or even ones that are familiar with it, of explaining there isn't a title. I mean, it's a numbered title. There isn't a narrative. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I'm not, this is for you. you bring your own experiences to it and react to it. And I think so much in the art world, we're spoon fed. This is what this means. This is what you're supposed to think. This is how you interpret this. And I think it's a great freedom that you give the viewer. And I think it creates more I actually think it creates more connection with your work, because you're allowing the viewer to react.
Absolutely. I mean, it takes out the me, and the I in it, you know? And I think that is pretty much a continuum with people who feel that they want to level an import onto how you're viewing things and how they see the world. And that's fine, but I'm not cut that way. And the fact that I don't go through, you know, like slumps or, you know, like, you know, these sort of like roadblocks in my thinking has everything to do with the fact that I understand it as that the world is wide open, you know, and it's as big as your imagination. So that means, you know, no matter where I end up, and even in our conversation now, I'm in a lot of ways going to pick up on something and learn something, and take full advantage of that. And I don't think there could be a better freedom than that.
I agree. And that's what's so exciting about your work. It makes you think, and you allow the viewer to think and react without. People really sometimes want to be told what to do, what to think. Should I like this piece of art? What's it about? Tell me. And I love the openness, the lack of narrative, the lack, you know, that it isn't there, that you're not being told. So tell me about the piece behind me. This is 199T, and I know
you have to tell me that. You know that, right?
even but I want to say, first of all, before we walk through, I'm so appreciative. We love working with you. I've been working with you for several years now, and I so enjoy seeing your work in our space. It's really exciting for us to install, and the audience here in Texas loves your work. You've got a great history with Texas.
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, I'm part Texican. I always tell folks, you know, after 11, 12 years living in San Antonio, I think I've earned that, you know.
Absolutely. You've got
yeah, I can be nostalgic about it at times, but the fact is that things are moving at such a pace that I don't have much time to think about where and what, you know. All those things are already a part of my journey, and like I know that they're coming out in the work. But you know, I wish I was, you know, there was more of me, so that I can go back and visit and stay, and like in some of these places that I love. I mean, Texas, Japan, China, you know, like the Netherlands, you know, Peru. I mean, it just goes on, and it's like and it's you know, I just wish we had just like more time.
Thank you for letting us indulge ourselves with all these great pieces that we have and install them. Even though we don't get to have you here, we get to visit remotely. So I'm going to switch the camera around and show us kind of some of the, looking at these works more in the round than not.
I know this space.
You?
Yes, I do.
We're going to start just with this one right here. We're in a smaller end of the gallery, and then we're going to look at larger works. So this is a more recent piece. The three pieces are all from 2019, so within the past year.
Yeah.
But tell us about this piece, Leo.
I've seen those the floating parts, I like to call. There's a larger piece that came just before this one, was at 8 feet by 8 feet. And the fact that it's like it's broken up in these almost flying cityscapes, it's interesting, especially the detail of it. Like as we were looking at it up close, it's an experience from this, and actually can be, you know, like in a lot of ways influence the next, you know, iteration of works from close up. You know, there are hints of what can be, you know.
What's so unusual to me about these are the ones that really project off on these pens.
Yeah.
You know,
Crazy. Where did that come from? I think it came from the explosions. There were these black explosions were a part of the 123s. I don't know if you know these works, but they're made
Absolutely.
up of they're made up of like remnants from old works,
Right.
and they come together to make one whole monster. And
Right.
this is just kind of like definitely influenced by that trajectory.
What I love about this work is that, when you have elements of other works that kind of come together into one, just what you
Mhm.
said. And
Mhm.
this has it. It has the areas of real density, and
Mhm.
then it has the exploding parts, and then it has this just kind of the grand gesture
Mhm.
of the
Well, there's
brand.
a dimensionality to this work. I mean, it is pretty much a sculpture. But the fact is, I mean, there's all this information that like it's layered.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. And I love it in here. So I'm going to rotate. So this is a recent piece for 2019. See, I
Hmm.
have so much fun with these, Leah. I mean, it's so
Oh,
have these
that's
here.
the color totems. I mean, yes, here we are with colors coming in.
This is straight from the studio. This
Yeah.
is a recent arrival.
Hmm.
This is a 2020,
Boy,
right?
I'm looking at this and it's like, boy, I said, what would I do? I always see things in parts. So I look at it, I say, what would I do with that section there? Or what would I do with this section? It's like, you see it as something finished and I see it as something that has promise, you know? The colors are, yeah. Yeah,
They're great.
I just sent you some images of what's going on in the studio now, and you'll see these very same colors and how they're applied to this surface. It comes up now in more of the works.
And then with it is this other wonderful totem.
Another color piece, but it's more like pastels, though, right?
Right. So the one we were just looking at was on wood, and then this one is plaster
Yeah,
and a slightly different palette.
yeah, yeah. I would
So much,
call both actually like paint chip works. This
yeah.
is a plaster, and I allowed the white to be the underlying kind of like a base for the colors, and the other one is black.
Right.
So that is actually the difference between the two. You wouldn't know that unless you sort of really studied it and said, "Oh, okay, this is why these two have these two different identities."
I remember, I think it was your first exhibition here.
Hmm.
You had an assistant come and you were working on thousands,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
thousands of
yeah,
pages.
yeah. You're right, and I'm almost sure those paint chips are like definitely in the first one because I
Oh, I
said
know
look at
where
that material. So it does come down to like taking on or taking advantage of opportunities. Like when I was in Cuba, watching these homes and buildings fall under just the weight of weathering and just they were just falling apart. And I was like, wow, these people are living inside my art. And I just said, let's try to realize that color in the works.
I think that makes me think of your relationship to architecture.
Yeah. Yeah. Color cotton.
Look at that.
Oh,
So
you guys did a great job for like, remnant parts, I would call, oh boy.
and then we'll kind of look.
Hmm.
This is a wonderful piece. This is
Yeah.
probably the earliest in the group.
Uh-huh.
This is from 2017.
Huh. I haven't seen those in a while. And I know that the way the roots are applied in this piece, that is really something.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yes, no, I'm looking at it and said, boy, I want to take that apart, turn it into something.
Oh,
I'm looking at how the root, I don't have that kind of intricacy because I haven't been making more of those roots. So I used them up. And so I look at that and I say, boy, that material's still around, you know?
isn't that incredible? And then so this has that density
Mm-hmm.
to it.
Huh. I should, honey, can you go back to that? I want to take a screenshot of that.
Yep. Right in the middle or the whole
Yeah,
picture?
so I can see the whole thing. I just need to be able to, there you go.
Hold on.
Beautiful. That's good. I got it. I got it.
Piece. So then as we move, okay, there are the paint chips that you made on our floor.
Yep. This is really trying to sort of figure it out, you know? Oh my goodness.
You know, it's like you never stop. Your studio.
Yeah, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's like how far I've traveled, you know, this is, oh.
Isn't it great?
Give me the axe. And roots too. Oh my goodness. Get that. Let me get photos of that. Okay.
All right. You can just direct me. Let me know.
No. I'm just loving what you're doing. Go to the well, actually, no. Just keep going in a row. You keep going all the way over to the black paragraph. The black paragraph. Keep going. Go to the next one. Just
all right.
Do it in order. Yeah. These are still occurring. You know, like these kind of like for working titles, like call these things trees. You know, in a studio. You know?
Right.
So,
and it has a root system. So
yeah.
it
Yep. Put that.
Got it.
Yep. Oh my goodness.
It's just the detail is extraordinary.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to confess that the labor intensive aspect of these definitely make me exhausted just looking at them. You know.
I know. Can you believe you did all that? It get lost in them. I mean, it's just viewers get lost. It's there's this
lost in the cityscape.
It's another world. And then it's just if you can get it, but just from the side.
Let me get that. Okay, got it.
Yeah. You got it?
Yep. I got it.
The big one in the back. So then,
wow,
we're gonna shift.
The paint chip color paint chips.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
These are kind of before you did all plaster, right?
That's
when you're
that is right. This is beginnings.
Yep, this is the first, and these are extraordinary. And again, just the detail. Look at that. Just
like the Great Wall of China.
Hey y'all, I'm gonna interrupt one time. Leo, can you talk about why you're taking screenshots and why you're so surprised when you see these older works?
Well, honestly, the screenshots are for my edification. I mean, I'm not alone when it comes to trying to learn from my past. So it's like I look at these and it's like, okay, if I'm not gonna get my hands on those works, what is it that I was after, and what are the other sort of trajectories or branches that these things sort of like shoot off into that I could take advantage of? So it's not like I could, at those moments when I'm creating them, I can think about that because I'm usually working on 7 things at a time. So like 7 crying babies, right? So you're trying to apply yourself to each one, and you know how difficult that can be. So it's like, in the end, it's like, this is the opportunity to sort of look back and say, oh, so that's what you're trying to tell me, So that's what the screenshots are. They're telling me something.
And it is an experience. I know you're excited when they leave the studio, but once they're gone, this is kind of reminding you of that moment of where you were when you were creating.
Right. That is correct.
Kind of the place you were mentally,
Yeah.
See, they're old friends. The crying babies. They're not
they're out in the world now doing their thing.
They're out in the world. They're big babies.
They believe me, if they can't pay rent, they can come on back. Oh, look at that.
Look at that. The surface and texture. Tell us about color when it's not this color.
Well, I mean, it's like what I was saying about like, those things that have been weathered, worn, there's a history there.
Yes.
I don't work with found objects for a reason, because the weather actually is, is probably the greatest artist, So it actually does layer and carve history into things. And you know, if I were to work with found out, it'd be like cheating. So it's like, okay, well, you know, how do I become the weather? So I become the weather, take these things and I transform them in the studio, work them, you know. But you have to know that you're not separate from nature, you're a part of nature, right?
Right.
Like so you know, like you actually can become the weather.
Love it. Love it. All right, now we're going to, I do enjoy, it's so wonderful.
You're walking away from the black one. The black
Because
paragraph.
I gotta back up.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Oh, is that what you're doing? All right. That one we're gonna be showing in Canada, right?
Yes.
Canada, and it's gonna be one of the anchors, and
Yes.
I'm really surprised that it's still there.
Me too.
Yeah. Because people are trying to get at those and that scale, and you have the last one.
I do. We
Yeah.
do.
Mm-hmm.
And we love it. It
I'm
is
looking at small ones now. Yeah, I have four that I'm working on right now in the studio. Just so that you know, they're small scale. And this same idea. I mean, like the black. I call it black paragraphs. You know, so it's like but look at the tree parts. Yeah, ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. This piece has such a presence to it. It's truly it's unforgettable. Once you've seen it in person, you just don't forget. It has such an impact on the viewer. And you know, I'm sure it will find a home in a museum or a major institution because it is so impactful.
Well, you know, yeah, like I said, I've invested in time in more of these configurations. So for me, it's necessary.
Right. How do you think about the different tension? I mean, I do think there's tension in the work, don't you think, from, you know, what you see above that just seems so exploding and then so controlled underneath?
Well, I mean, I honestly, I think it's just like the scales of life, right? So you have all these different approaches to your emotional, you know, pendulum, and those things are directed into the work. And like I said, I don't have to necessarily call on that. You're asking me to put it in words, and I'm a maker, so
right.
I'm just trying to find the right words for you when I say about pendulum and swinging from one energy or emotion to the next. But they are what they are, you know.
No, they are. They speak for themselves.
Well, I definitely see all of this, you know, even this journey. It's not an art journey, and I always try to remind people it's the life philosophy. So how I apply myself to what I do is, you know, can be applied throughout your life. It's not really designated to artists only, you know.
Right.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Really exploration of I mean, I think I've had works that are been influenced by this one. This is only the beginnings of like this kind of movement and color, and I can even see where it's kind of like hard thinking in terms of, okay, why, and then rip this out, put this in, and this one has all of the how do you say, if you were making a Frankenstein monster, you know. This is definitely that. So you're patchworking this to that, and you're trying to figure this out. You're ripping this arm out and putting this arm in, or you know. So it's a monster for real. But what came thereafter actually learned from that experience.
And this has layers, like the branches are wrapped in this.
Yeah, I haven't done that again. At least I don't recall. Not in that way. I mean, you take something as natural as a tree part, and you bastardize it by swallowing it with this material. You know? I mean, look, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, I look at that, I say, what was I thinking about? You know? What was I thinking about? Created a monster. Hmm.
Great. So we have one last piece. This one looks dark here. It's so white and light.
I know. I'm looking at it. It's amazing that you could have that balance of two things, of black and white, and like they're both experiences, you know.
Yeah, this is like an explosion. This piece is fantastic. Plaster and paint chips.
Hmm. It's like these pages, right? Like writing pages. You know,
Yep.
layered
Weather.
up one on top of the other. Yeah.
And there is a fragility to all of the work. It has this feeling where it's this, like I said, this tension between the massive, monumental, grand feeling, but then this tiny, obsessive detail
Mm-hmm.
that is just seems so involved and intricate. Every little bit. Thousands of pieces. You've been busy.
Oh man, it does wear me out just looking at them. I'm like, whoa.
Wow. Okay, we've got one last one, which is the most recent one in this grouping, is the cotton piece. Which this is a return. You worked with cotton very earlier in your career.
Yeah, it was Pam Joyner who actually, pushed me to sort of make a piece for her in cotton. I said, I don't work with that material anymore. And like once I opened up that Pandora's box, now it's a part of the vocabulary now. Again, it was return. So I try to sort of add at least where I am right now to that material. You know, like that's where you're getting the black hues. You know, because you can definitely see that's where I am now. The cotton is definitely from my past. So it's just bringing those two elements together, and seeing if they could actually speak. You know,
Right. The texture is just like everything else. Just really pulls you in. All the detail. Well, that's the walkthrough. Tell me about the works on paper. One thing we haven't seen are the incredible works on paper. So tell me about those.
Yeah, well, works on paper, absolutely. They're cute as a baby's butt. You know, like they take you through this kind of like my past and gives it to you on a smaller scale. But those things in microcosm are unto themselves. They don't necessarily have to rely on the larger works in order to make them what they are. You know, they definitely become these kind of islands. You know, of impact. You know,
They are maquette-like. You know, they're like maquettes of larger pieces, but they're really their own pieces, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Are they pieces, I think of the one with the thread and the colored thread that's so.
Yeah.
Are those pieces you would like to make on a larger scale, or are they really just meant for the scale, the 24 by 20?
I've done things similar to that. And they were part of experiments that were just kind of like one-offs that were large. I mean, usually for some strange reason, I start off with something very large. I don't start small. I start with large and I commit to this, even if it becomes like this total absolute failure. You know, I jump right into something big and try to tackle it. It's exhausting doing things that way because in the end, that's why I end up with all these parts that I can now sort of break up and turn into other things, is because I've invested a lot of time in these large pieces without really knowing whether or not they're going to be successful. Yeah.
I'm looking at, oh my gosh, I'm looking at the images you sent.
What you got? Oh, you're looking at those. All right, you can see. See that's why they're walking out the door. So that's they're like this big. They're nice. They're 24-ish by 24-ish in that range, and yeah.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, if you had waited just a second, you would have gotten a body of those. But now they're going to Paris and they're going to Canada and they're going to and like I said, Tony and Mary are just ecstatic about those because they pack a punch in a small, very small. They're not like the works on paper. These are full on, like sculptures that are like muscled you know, but and the pocket size.
They're
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. I've seen more images. Yeah, but they're only now happening, and I got 10 more that I have to create really quickly, and they do flow rapidly. And it has a lot to do with all the materials that I've been through. So you can only imagine these materials being wrapped on that small scale. They become really, really impactful, you know. Mm-hmm.
I love it. Well, this has been fun visiting and
Yes.
getting
Mm.
when it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
And
Hopefully that'll be sometime in the near future, but we got a new world.
but our next installation and big show with you, I can't wait. But we love having this work here and finding homes for it and just having a reason to work on projects with you.
Absolutely. I'm with you, girl.
So much.
Tell everybody saying hey, give them a big old hug.
I will. Trini, Meredith, everybody says hey. And Arnie, thank you for being our master technician.
Great job, girl. make something powerful with that. Do something with it. Yeah.
Thank you, Leo. Have a
All
great
right, guys. Take care now.
Take care. Bye.